Make this a kind of discussion rather than a session with big platform speakers. We didn't know the context. I think, given what's happened this afternoon, I think the discussion is called for, really. And so basically, all I think we're going to do is to allow everybody here to say what they think about, well, what happened this afternoon and what should happen in the future, and where Green Left goes from here, and how Green Left and how the Green Party as a whole can continue to relate to the anti-cuts movement, given the situation in Brighton and the decision of conference today. And that's all I wanted to say, really. And Remain's going to chair, and there's time for everybody to have their say at least once, and maybe go around a second time.
Okay, well, thanks for everyone for coming. Green Left are hosting this meeting. I know not everybody in here is Green Left, and everybody is welcome. And the discussion needs to be had with everyone. Green Left were formed in order to promote the policies that already exist within the Green Party and to sort of promote the value of those to some of the members within the Green Party, but also as an outreach sort of arm of the Green Party to those who may not have looked at the environmental issues or seen that the Green Party had a social justice agenda as well. What I would like to do is to take contributions from everybody. If we can maybe keep them succinct and shortish to start with, so we might then aim for a second round, see the sort of flavour of debate and whether or not we want to get out the felt pens and put any pointers or have any sort of a plan afterwards. We don't know, we'll just have to see how that goes. So if anybody feels like kicking off the discussion this evening, hands up and we'll go. So one at the back and anyone else be getting ready. You want to stand up and speak and or come to the front, I don't really mind. Whatever's easier for people. My neck is a bit achy, so I don't like to stand around much. Say who you are.
My name's James Tompkinson and I'm from the Bolton Party. I've just got a question: is what happened this afternoon? Because I wasn't here, and also I want to know. I have looked at what happened in Brighton, and does anybody know why they haven't resigned from the council if they couldn't pass the budget through? My other comment is that in anti-cuts, things where I'm involved and I've been to demonstrations, there does seem to be a bit now that the anti-cuts movement doesn't want the Green Party near them because they've moved towards a Labour Party position and that's a Labour Party position, and is that anyone else's experience? And that's what I wanted to say.
Well, I'm just going to use my position of chair in one respect to say that, some of you know I'm chair of the Coalition Resistance. There are quite a lot of people in supporters of Coalition Resistance who are Labour Party supporters or members, and they know what their lane councillors are doing up and down the country. It would be lovely, perhaps, to think that our Greens has a much clearer way forward, possibly, but that is not necessarily something. But it's not. What's happened so far, maybe, is failing to differentiate the Green Party position from what Labour councillors who are professing an anti-cuts position and going out on demos are doing. Peter, do you want to come back on what happened?
Yeah, James, just to bring you and anybody else up to date. At this afternoon's plenary session, I had tabled with the support of several people in this room for Green Left an emergency resolution which effectively called on Brighton Council to reconsider their decision to stay in power and to support a budget that had been substantially amended by Tories and Labour together, and which involved basically the amending out of their key position, which was to raise council tax in order to help defend essential services. So that was the resolution. And when we got to discuss the resolution, it was moved successfully by Tim, who's kindly enough to come along. It was moved successfully that standing orders, which is a procedural measure that has to happen in order for emergency resolutions to be discussed, not be suspended. And when that was put to the conference, I think it was something like 2-1 against the motion being allowed to be discussed. So as a consequence of that, the resolution, which was calling on Brighton councillors to reconsider their decision to carry on in power on the basis of a budget that they had substantially amended by the opposition, that was the question, that was the decision that we were asking them to reconsider, but that discussion didn't take place.
Okay, I'm not sure if it is. Does that clarify, do you know what happened down in Brighton before that? So that's fine. So Royd and James, and then anybody else wants to speak as well?
Royd Hanson, Rugby Green Party, the campaigner. I think there's a serious mistake by the Brighton Green Party. I think it was thought out about, they actually got conned by New Labour and Tories to support got compromised by that budget. And I don't think, as we know from the earlier meeting, Caroline Lucas as opposed to them voting in favour of that budget. That's quite a significant point actually, because I don't know if the part of reading the conference earlier actually was aware of that fully. Because actually that says, do you trust Caroline Lucas or the Brighton councillors? I don't think we in the Brighton councillors actually, all of them were quite aware of that position either. And it's okay chasing Kit Kat saying, trust in me, like the snake out of jungle book. But that's not a very good position, because our position in Brighton is totally at odds with the position of the National Party on cuts, which is opposition. And also we have an ethical position as well. We were conned, simple as that, by New Labour and Tories. And Ireland kept being on all the time. Ireland. Look, you can't go into a position where you're hostage to two other parties and you're not the majority and you haven't got a campaign behind you, and if you can, as an individual or individual council, think they can change things, like they thought they could in Ireland. And what happened in Ireland is that the Green Party was just, well, it doesn't exist really, doesn't it? It's gone. It's dead now. Because the electorate took the revenge on the Green Party and the Liberal Party. But also, the Green Party, because our standards are better and people accept more from the Green Party. In terms of the next stage, I think it's a very, very unstable position in Brighton, actually. Particularly because there is clearly contradiction in positions between Caroline and Jason. Absolutely. And I think as the Green Left in general, members should be thinking about leaving, actually. Now is the time to fight on an anti-cuts position. Because, do we want an island situation in Brighton? Do we want that to ripple out across the country as well? Is that what what's being offered? Because what will happen year on, there will be cuts taking place. And Jason is saying, oh, we're not going to campaign. That's what he's effectively saying, actually. He poo-pooed the idea, and that's not attainable.
With more contributions. At some point, we may, for those of you who don't know, Green Left actually were invited down to Brighton and Hope to speak to Councillor Sedge. I think that was very, very keen to be involved in that discussion. And some of that discussion, shrunk down, will be published in Red Pepper. So we may, you may want to know a little bit of what happens there afterwards. Think about that. It was James, and then who was that? James.
I just address, sorry, I'll turn around otherwise I'm the only one facing me. I just address the point that Peter made earlier, because I'm currently acting convener of SOC, and I actually thought Tim's challenge was verging on being, it was an argument against the motion basically. I don't think the section A of standing orders that you suspend has to do with the timetable for submitting motions, and that's why you have to suspend it to debate a motion, because otherwise the timetable is, you have to submit a motion by the first agenda. So I think, as much as I like Tim as a person, I think I have to say, I think we were really wrong to do that, but that was the decision of conference. I think it was quite a cynical move, and I spoke to John Knott, who I was speaking to last night, who's the ERO nationally, and he agrees with what Brighton councillors are doing. I don't. And even he said to me, debated. You know, you can't, as a democratic party, you just can't stifle debate. All that will happen is it will store up problems for later, or it will just kill off debate, which is exactly what happened, like Roy was saying, the Irish Greens, 6 MPs, all of them became government ministers, 4 years along the line, massive austerities imposed, you know, nothing to do with their manifesto or what have you, at the behest of basically Fianna Fáil, and of course they've lost everything. You know, I mean, they may be declassified as a party, because I think you have to have something like 500 members to be actually a registered political party in the Republic. But I just take the point about the cuts that the Brighton councillors are doing, and I did speak at the Fringe earlier, and I'm pleased that Caroline's speaking out against what they're doing in Brighton, because obviously she has a bit of a cynical self-interest in terms of she wants to hold on to her own seat, but also I do believe she seriously, you know, she's a political thinker, and I think that she does want the party to be a broad left of Labour party, and there are many people on the left that prior to, you know, maybe a year ago or so, a lot of people I speak to, I'm treasurer of court by the way, that did think coalition of resistance remains chair, and that did think the Green Party could be a left of Labour broad party. Those people don't believe that anymore, even if they were against us becoming a broad left of Labour party. They thought that we had the potential to become that. These cuts are, you know, not only are they hurting people in Brighton, they're hurting our entire philosophy and our principles as a party. We passed a motion at the conference in Cardiff last year saying, you know, elected officials won't vote for cuts. That's exactly what they're doing in Brighton. And, you know, I mean, Phelan, who's a Green Left comrade, voted for those cuts, and he remains a good friend, and we disagree. I was in Brighton last week speaking to some of the people at his 33rd birthday party, and, you know, we beg to differ basically on it. And I'm not criticising them personally as people. All I'm saying is I think their political actions are wrong. The idea that we need to be ultra loyal to everyone that is an elected Green, whatever they do, is exactly the same that the argument that people in the Labour Party were making, you know, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, it's all right, the party will be reclaimed. You know, look what's happened to the Labour Party. Red Ed? I don't think so. You know, and so I think basically we have sold out, and I think it's tragic today that a very good friend of mine, comrade Joseph Healy, has felt it necessary to leave the party. A few weeks ago, Andy Hewitt, a very good comrade and friend of mine, felt it necessary to leave the party. Two people that have put an enormous amount into the Green Party, but they simply can't stay in a party which endorses cuts and which sort of glides over the issue whenever it comes up. So, you know, that's my view.
From your Green Party. I don't want to repeat myself because I did speak at the meeting with the Brighton Council, so I'll try not to repeat myself too much. In answer to the question about the anti-cuts groups and to what extent they are feeding a kind of Labour agenda, I can't speak for the whole country. I know in York, if anything, it's probably the opposite. I would say the anti-cuts groups are probably getting more radicalised in York and talking about, very, very strongly talking about things like illegal budgets and so on, which might be more kind of problematic for elected representatives. And interestingly, you know, I personally have, and other people I know have been getting a lot more flack from the anti-cuts movement as a result of what Brighton were planning to do. And then it turns out that what Brighton have actually done is far worse than what they were originally planning to do. And I found myself leading up to the vote last Thursday defending Brighton to a certain extent, in the sense that I was saying, well, okay, give them time, and perhaps it's not the right, you know, perhaps it's not right to pass a legal budget straight away. Maybe they need a bit more support, and they need to, you know, form alliances with other councils and things like this. And in that respect, from a I don't know, from a kind of Green Left perspective, I was probably quite moderate in some respects. There were certainly people who were arguing differently to me. But then what happened on Thursday was far in excess of my expectations, really, and that they would actually vote for the opposition amendment and essentially make the same level of cuts as Labour and the Tories. And however that's dressed up, I don't really see how that's anything other than cuts. It's fantastic to see Alex here, who's the one notable exception. To know that somebody would do that, and although the numbers, has to be said, were quite disappointing in terms of that you were the only person who did. One rumour I have heard from several people actually was that, and I don't know if this is true or not, so perhaps you could possibly tell us whether this is true, that there was a meeting a few days previous and that it seemed that most of the councillors had that hypothetical position that if the opposition didn't go for the council tax increase, that they wouldn't actually vote for that, and then potentially the whole budget would fall down. And then something in the last few days has happened, whether they were shown a sort of a view of the JFK assassination from a perspective no one had seen before. But something's happened in the last few days to make them change their minds, and I'd be interested to know what that was. But I mean, as I said in the meeting earlier, I'm now, you know, an anti-guts activist and a Green Party member, and can I still be those two things at the same time? At the moment, I'm not really sure.
Thanks. Thanks.